Most of what we do and buy ultimately comes down to sex, which is kind of scary. We buy things to make ourselves look more beautiful, to get more dates. We do our best to earn more money to buy things to make us look more successful on a conscious or unconscious level. We buy purchases, we buy shoes, we buy bigger houses to increase our status. We increase our status to get a better mate, to look better amongst our community. It all comes down to really sex, our genetic tendencies for survival and reproduction, which usually go into elevating our status. Sure, there are some exceptions. Sometimes we do things for pleasure, for our own happiness. Maybe it's for family. But generally speaking, these all have genetic urges to them. So, why should we just blindly follow our genetic tendencies for survival and reproduction? Just because our genes tell us to be healthier, wealthier, happier, and better doesn't mean we should. Sometimes we should, because that does lead to a better, more quality life, which is what we're after. But we shouldn't just do something because our genetics tell us to do so. Yet 99% of the world, that's exactly what they do. But there are some successful examples of people who have strayed away from their genetic tendencies in a way. One would be the Dalai Lama, someone who doesn't subscribe to anything superficial or capitalistic. He doesn't really buy things. He just kind of meditates all day and eats minimal food. And so, in that sense, he's gone against the grain. Many people have this genetic tendency to try and find the best possible mate that they can. And there's nothing wrong with that. But a lot of guys have this idea that they have to, spread their seed far and wide. And that's what measures them as a man. The Dalai Lama is someone who has bucked this genetic belief that survival and reproduction, and that who reproduce it with the most people wins by swearing off reproducing. He is not allowed to have a mate, nor is any of his monk followers. And what's interesting about him is that he's still influenced and impacted and inspired millions of people. So in that sense, you can, as a human, on an individual level, consciously buck the trend by choosing your own values and own goals. The Dalai Lama has shown his own measure of success. He has inspired millions of people to live healthier, happier, simpler lives in his own way. Even though he has technically, quote unquote, failed in the genetic sense of the term, that doesn't mean you have to go for it. Ellen DeGeneres is another example of someone who is not going to have children. She is a lesbian, so she genetically has chosen not to have children, even though she could in vitro.